And before we conclude this evening, I'd just like to maybe just reflect to you some of my thoughts on today's proceedings. The first reflection that I might make is that it's clear from everything that we've heard today that we already have a wealth of experience in dealing with this subject. And it's extremely interesting to see that there's such a wealth of research and the quality of the research that is being conducted to assist us in our ongoing work on this subject of cultural identity and how to become more culturally aware and culturally inclusive. It's quite sobering sometimes when we look at the research, and particularly when we hear some of the statistics that we heard from Dr. Coulter this morning, or even our last speakers this afternoon, regarding the experience of ethnic minorities and how much more likely they are to have contact with the care system. And one of the more startling statistics that I heard today was that perhaps 1 in 4 of all of the children in care come from an ethnic background, and that is perhaps the 1 in 4 that the next generation will be talking about. It's also extremely positive, I think, today to have had in this room the voices and the experiences of those other cultures and their experiences of the care system in this country, whether that has been reflected indirectly through Morag, who has worked in Nigeria, or the research that the academics have presented today, and certainly the story that we heard from Rachel today, her own very personal experience. And if there's something we can take from having those voices in the room today, is that this is no doubt an extremely complex subject. But, you know, perhaps the piece that we might take from it is that in its complexity, we might take that step back to first principles, and, you know, in approaching the complex question, sometimes, you know, taking that step back and looking at it from a first principles approach might assist in dealing with the complexity of the questions themselves. And of course, the recurring themes of the importance of food and language, you know, we just can't ignore that, and how important that is for the experience of young people in care. Also, the consideration of the tension between families' concerns and professional interests and expectations, and how this relationship of trust has to be worked at to turn that into a relationship of trust, and how difficult that is, and turning what we have in theory and making that a reality and making it become real in our practices. We've also had a careful exposition of the legal issues that are facing children in care on their journey into care and on their journey through care. And we can get very caught up in the care elements, but we also have to remember that there may be very other important considerations legally, questions of immigration and status, that also need to be addressed and identified in a very timely manner in order to have the best possible outcomes for these children. We also have started that conversation about how to support cross-cultural placements, and in particular the transition out of care, and the importance of training, not just for ourselves as professionals, but also for the foster carers and the carers in residential placements who are going to be responsible for the day-to-day delivery of the care to these children. And of course, the all-important role of taking a child-centred approach and recognising that each case brings with it its own demands and opportunities. And this really is a circumstance where one size will never fit all, and we have to tailor our response to the needs of the child or the children that are before us on a case-by-case basis. we've also been provided with some very important resources to take back with us into our workplaces today, to assist the practice of actually meeting and meaningfully meeting cultural needs, the cultural needs of children from minority backgrounds. We have the guide that's been prepared by the group that Daly have facilitated to come together, and also the very interesting Mecca maps that Geraldine has introduced us to, which I found really quite fascinating, and I think will really inform our practice into the future. So I'm sure you'll all agree with me today when I say that our speakers have provided us with a wealth of information to take away and to digest. And on your behalf, I would like to thank all of the speakers today, and I think perhaps we might show our appreciation one final time for all of them. I'd also like to extend a huge thanks to Daly for organising this conference, and in particular Eugene Bigley and Claire Quinn for all the work that they've done in putting together this conference today. I'm sure you'll agree it's been a huge success. So again, well, not again, but for the first time, a big round for Daly. And finally, a great big thank you to all of you for your attention today, and for the respect and the interest that you've shown to all of the speakers. And now I think it's time for refreshments. So I think you all know what that means. And enjoy your evening. It was very good to see you all here today. Thank you.